That is certainly a blessing. Now, Lord, I ask you to look down on us as commissioners, serving as the governing body of this county. Give us the knowledge, the wisdom, and the mind to make the right decisions for all of Harnett County. This is my prayer. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. This time I will consider any additions and deletions to the published agenda.
Move to approve the agenda as stands.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as published. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This time I'll
Chair.
now consider the consent agenda.
Chair, I want to make one correction on the, I apologize, on the consent agenda. We did receive the money on the revocation, so that is not needed. My apologies. The revocation on the land, item C.
Okay,
So when you're voting, you're not voting on the revocation. It's
understood.
on the agenda.
Removing items. Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as stands after we remove item C under the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda minus item number C. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. All right, at this time, I will now open the floor for public comment period. Each commenter will have 3 minutes for their presentation. First on the list, I have Mrs. Linda Sutterman.
Good morning, Linda Sunderman, 25 Spruce Lane, Lillington. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month, so again, we need the mental health. Across the nation, you're seeing very badly what's happening in the schools. It's getting closer to home, and it can happen here. And there is a lot happening in our schools with the mental health. We really, really need to get something into our schools. Second of all, was it about 2 months now for the poor Finches? And I would like to see, by Mother's Day possibly, some kind of justification, or anyways, I would like to see for her kids with their first Mother's Day without their mother, to have some kind of, the DA needs to get moving on this. They just need some kind of peace of mind. And if it would have been me driving down the road, my friend, when this happened to him, was taken to jail immediately from the hospital and charged with murder. And I think the DA really needs to get on the stick with this. It's really looking bad. And I'm going to go out for the kids this weekend and put flowers out there for her. And I sure hope nobody, I know who did it the last time, removes this memorial this time for her kids. But Dan and his sisters need peace of mind to know that their mother and stepfather's killer is behind bars. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next up, I have Miss Elizabeth Longman.
Good morning, gentlemen. I see you'll be pulling double duty today with the joint meeting after this. And Miss McCoy, gentlemen and Miss McCoy. Just wanted to let you know that we have started proceedings to legally remove the sheriff from his office. It would be nice if your attorney would do something within his job description instead of chasing down rabbit holes of opioid crisis that is not within his job description, and help protect the people of Harnett County. I have come here before and mentioned that when the deputies show up, that Harnett County citizens lose their lives. I think we're about 3 or 4 lives down since I last said that a while back. Harnett County commissioners have got to at some point say this is too many liability lawsuits. This is against the law of North Carolina, this is against the U.S. Constitution. And this person has got to stop hurting Harnett County citizens. Has got to stop hurting Harnett County citizens, and now even people who are visiting Harnett County are at risk of the maladministration of Wayne Coates. We just ask that don't let us fight this alone. We'll do it because it's our loved ones getting hurt, it's our loved ones getting killed, but it would be nice if the county did their part too.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Alan Longman.
Yes, this is Alan Longman, 234 Hamilton Road in Bond Level. The reason I'm here to talk today is that things are getting out of hand in general. We talk about the car accident that killed the Finch family. We have to talk about how many people here have not gotten a speeding ticket. Imagine if the deputy, and could have happened to anyone who got a speeding ticket, was careless in the way he drove. It was complained about an hour before the incident, and there's documentation saying from 2018, 2019, that the sheriff was under investigation for poor driving habits in the Fayetteville Observer. So this is an ongoing thing. The fact that charges were pressed against the individual to protect a deputy is going to get your DA in problems. I assure you that. There was no reason for what happened. Nothing has been done to improve the driving skills. Second, and very poignant, is that we have to have better controls on what's going on in the sheriff's office. In our cases, we need people to look and see what's going on. It seems organized. We have enough documents showing organization. We went to file to the clerk of courts, and she would not file the report. She also lied. We gave her the actual law to read, and we actually read it to her. I don't know if she got advice from the legal department. We want the names of the people who gave her advice so to be brought to the board. They charge us a fee, which is illegal. And it took 2 hours to get something that should have taken 10 minutes done. We are going to go after, of course, the clerk of courts, and why she did this. Political. What's the other answer could it be? Or she's incompetent. In either case, she needs to be removed. Third thing that's going on is that when I looked at the Suzanne Matthews site, it had a flag posted on her site, which represents the June 16th attack on Washington, D.C. Who do we have as a DA? She will not protect the community against any of the law enforcement. We see this with the deputy, clear-cut case of homicide and carelessness or recklessness. Yet nothing was done. They went after an innocent man, in my opinion, to something that may or may not have happened. Going recklessly driving along, how do you know what speed he really was recording? How do you know it was just a few miles over the limit? How do you know anything? But you do know he was a reckless driver. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last, I have Mr. Tony Spears. I do not see him in here. I know that he was bouncing between the different meetings. So this time I will now close the floor for public comment period. And we will move on to a public hearing regarding the plan of financing Ben Haven Emergency Services.
So, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners, what you have before you is we will need to open and hold a public hearing comment period for the financing of Ben Haven Emergency Services. It is a resolution that you as the board, if you approve, will enable that Ben Haven Services to borrow debt or issue debt for the construction of their building as tax exempt, which is considerable savings to the citizens of the county. So we would need to have a public hearing to just need to open that, if you would.
This time I will now open the public hearing for the financing of Ben Haven Emergency Services. Anybody would like to get up and speak for in opposition of this item? Now is your chance. Seeing no one move, I will now close the floor for public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request for the financing for Ben Haven Emergency Services as
Second.
outlined by County Manager trout at our last work session.
Second. I have a motion and a second in order to approve the financing for Benhaven Emergency Services. Any discussion?
As long as Ms. Honeycutt's looked, there's sufficient revenue there to support it.
Well, we will not be repaying the debt. The department will actually be repaying the
Yeah,
debt.
out of the fire
Us
tax.
as the Board of Commissioners, yes, they do. So, but us as the board, you as the, I'm not a commissioner, but you as the Board of Commissioners, you would certify that they are, they fall up under the protected class so that they would be eligible for tax exempt. So, but they do have the revenue, and that area is growing, so.
Any further discussion? Comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. Moving on to presentation of the budget message and recommended 23-24 budget.
Thank you, Chairman. Board of Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to present the budget message for our fiscal year 2024 budget. The work has been completed on the budget and is presented today for your review and consideration. Harnett County prepares an annual budget in accordance with the statutory requirements and considering enhancing the quality of our experience for our residents. The budget has been prepared to support our strategic goals and priorities. Right now, at this point, I'll go through some of the specifics related to this budget. The property tax assessed values went up, increased approximately $367 million this year. That relates mainly to the growth and construction of homes and regular increased values that have been occurring. We're excited to see this growth, but obviously the growth creates challenges for us in provision of services. The current tax levy rate is 0.591 per 100. Based on the revenues and other work that we have done, we're recommending that levy remain the same at 0.591 per 100. The other reason that we feel strongly in that regard is that we've received other good news as it relates to the increase that we're seeing in our sales tax revenues and other fees that we charge related mainly to the growth in housing development. Our sales tax, as an aside, was projected to go up 6.3% compared to last year. So our total general fund recommended budget is $156,923,960. We're projected to use approximately $4 million in our fund balance in order to balance the budget. Last year, we recommended the use of $4.3 million, and we're trending towards not needing any of it based on lapsed salaries that we have for positions that have remained unfilled. There are some recommended fee increases related to some animal control fees that had not been charged in the past, and also small increases in our water and sewer charges to our customers. These charges have not been raised in the last 5 years, and based on projected expenses related to projects and other continuing expenses, they're warranted at this time. The full list of fees is included in Appendix 1 of the budget. We have included in the budget a recommended increase of 10% to all of our rescue squads. And we're also recommending an increase in tax rates for 3 fire departments. Those 3 fire departments are the Benhaven Fire Department requested a 1 cent increase, and I'm recommending the 1 cent increase. Benhaven's call volume continues to increase, and the new fire station will be completed in late 2023. The department will need to staff the new station. Boone Trail requested a 2 cent increase, and I am recommending a 2 cent increase. Boone Trail's call volume continues to increase, and the additional funds will allow the station to hire the needed staff. West Area Fire Department requested a 5 cent increase to make their rate equal to that charged in Cumberland County. I'm recommending a 1 cent increase to that tax rate and work towards increasing that over time. The Harnett County Schools presented their request for funding to the county. School district with this budget will see an increase per student from $1,237.69 to $1,321.51 per student. The total amount of base funding is increased by roughly $2 million. These additional funds will help to increase the local supplement pay for certified staff and salary increases for classified staff. This year, we conducted the compensation study by Pontifex Consulting Group. With that came a set of recommendations. Our last compensation study was done in 2016, and so through this, they've determined there's a recommended increase. We discussed these previously when they did their presentation, but to summarize, we included staggered increases of 10% to our deputies, detention officers, and our telecommunicators earlier this year. We're now also recommending in this budget, actually it'll be on the May 16th agenda, to increase the other public safety employees by 10%. The recommended budget also includes a 5% pay scale adjustment for all employees and a 3% COLA increase for all employees. These types of increases will bring us in line with the market in order to help attract and retain employees. The recommended budget also includes a 1.5% pay increase for staff that meet expectations and have a positive performance evaluation. This year, the county saw an increase of about 3% in our health insurance premium costs, and the county will be able to cover that increase rather than passing it on to the employees. The state changed its retirement contribution formula and will increase the amount that we need to contribute by 1.11% for law enforcement officers and 0.75% for all other county employees. The new budget has 12 positions recommended for inclusion in the budget and has 2 reclassifications. The budget also provides a $1,200 per year incentive payment to recruit and retain school resource officers. This has been a big need within our school system. The recommended budget also includes a pay increase to the Board of Commissioners and Board of Election members. The last increase for both boards was in 2017. The recommended increases are based on the surrounding county pay rates. They changed the chairman's salary from $10,375 to $12,969, vice chairman from $9,726 to $12,158, and regular and other commission members from $9,083 to $11,354. A couple of other notes. Again, this year the state did not fully fund the teen court, and so we are looking at needing to contribute $9,850 to cover expenses for this worthwhile program. We've also set aside money in contingency fund for 6 new positions related to the Medicaid expansion based on its actual start date, projected to be January 1st. We also have a new program that we're looking at providing funding for 2 small business grants in partnership with the Small Business Development Center at Central Carolina Community College. This budget provides more funding for additional parks and recreation programs and library programs, and provides the funding necessary for us to open the Benhaven Branch Library and the Benhaven Recreation Center, providing more services to the western side of the county. Harnett Regional Water continues to be very strong, and they continue to work on major projects, replacing our old meter infrastructure with the new advanced metering infrastructure. That project is approximately 80% complete, and they have recently received the necessary meters to complete the project. The 2 next big projects they have that are soon to happen are the North Harnett Wastewater Treatment Plant is in process of design with expectation of a new capacity upgrade in fiscal year 24. We also have the Southwest Wastewater Pump Station and Force Main project that consists of the renovation of the regional sewer lift station and construction of approximately 5 miles of 20-inch sewer force main along Highway 87 in the southwest portion of the county. Solid waste continues to be strong. They recently were approved for an additional cell at the Dunn landfill, and so we're excited about that. We've also seen Harnett Regional Jetport complete the apron expansion project, and the terminal construction project continues to move forward. The American Rescue Plan funding that we received, the roughly $26.5 million, we've projected to use all of it except for about $5 million, a little over $5 million. We'll bring forward to you later this fall some recommendations on how to use that. We need to make sure that we plan to obligate that money by December 31 of 2024 and spend all the money by December of 2026. As we continue to move forward, there are steps that are being made, strong efforts in our strategic plan accomplishments. Staff has entered into a next phase for performance management and near completion of phase 3, which will be presented in June. The next phase for us, phase 4, will create business plans for each of our departments in order to execute the primary functions that they work. We continue to work with CloudWise to install broadband throughout the county, and we're about to enter a contract for phase 2 in fiscal year 24 in order to complete that project. Let's see, last item. As it comes to expansion requests, those items, some of them were included within the budget and have been reviewed with you. I want to mention, though, that the full list of expansion requests is available for you, and we ask that you review that expansion list, and if you have items that you determine should be considered in the budget, please let us know. So the budget that I am proposing provides funding needed to the schools, community college, and departments to continue to provide quality service and support to citizens of Harnett County. The proposed budget provides increases in order to operate our government and covers new expansion items related to keeping up with our growing county and operations. The tax levy rate will remain the same as last year in this proposed budget. I want to thank Central Carolina Community College, the fire and EMS departments, Harnett County Schools, and other community partners for their collaboration in developing this budget. I want to thank the department directors for submitting their information and requests in a timely manner with well thought out justifications for their requests. We would love to meet all of their requests, but unfortunately, we do not have the resources to do so. The most needed thank you I need to provide goes out to Lisa McFadden for all the countless hours she has spent preparing this budget for your consideration. We're all blessed to have her as our budget director. The presentation of the budget details will be conducted on May 15th with a public hearing on the budget at the same meeting on May 15th. We will have the budget item as a discussion item on the May 30th agenda to see if there are any other issues of concern that we need to discuss with plan to have the final approval of the budget at the scheduled June 5th meeting. We look forward to receiving your comments and direction over the next month on this proposed budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that presentation. Any members have any questions or comments currently? Questions or comments?
Do we make our comments now, or do we wait?
Oh, I didn't know if you had any comments for the presentation.
Well, I don't have really any comments, but I do want to ask a question about the purchasing of land with the American Rescue, not the American, funding for some affordable homes. I think that we had mentioned that, and I know there's further discussion coming down the line on that, so I would table my discussion until we make that decision if that's what you all prefer.
The only comment that I would give is that as we continue to look at the affordable housing projects and opportunities, it is something that, depending on the size of that request, would be an item that we could do as an amendment to the budget in order to accomplish it. But we look forward to hearing your input as to what type of project we would look at potentially doing.
Well, we can discuss that. I have a project.
Okay.
I have discussed it with Coley, and maybe that's something we can do, because I'm thinking maybe you're not even considering doing anything in it any bigger than that. But I'm still standing on my 2 feet saying that we need to do something in that area. So that's all I have to say. As far as the budget, let me say, I think you did a really good job, but I will have one more question about the school board. The teachers and the classified employees get the same increase, right?
That, right now, as far as funding, we've increased the percentage that they could receive of their supplement with this project from 9% to 10%, based on my understanding of their
Okay,
budget.
okay. Just want clarification on it, that's
Sure.
all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're gonna hear their budget fund.
Yeah, okay.
Anything further? I do want to say special thanks to Miss Lisa McFadden and the rest of the staff. I know that this time of year with the budget rolling out is always the trying time where you're in the office, you know, working behind the little computer constantly. But much thanks again. Appreciate it. Move on to the county manager's report. Mr. Trapp, you're up again.
Sir, I have nothing further to add. However, we do need to approve some budget amendments, if we would, please.
Okay. We have some budget amendments as requested by the finance director. They are in front of you on your screen as well as in your packet. We'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve? Motion to approve?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a second? Motion request?
Second,
I have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendments as requested by the finance director. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk. All right, we have an item for new business, wastewater treatment update. Mr. Steve Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm here to give you an update about wastewater treatment issues that were happening at North Harnett Wastewater Treatment Plant. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we had a work session where I went through in some detail the condition of our lagoon at the plant and what was going on. It was determined that chemicals in porta-john waste had contributed to the lagoon basically not being able to function the way it should. And it basically killed off a lot of the bugs that are there, which help in aerobic wastewater treatment. So since that time, that was back in mid-February, we stopped taking any septic or porta-john waste to the lagoon. All that has cleared up now. The lagoon's in much better shape. Since that time, we did an analysis, and you guys have been privy to some of the letters from engineers and that sort of thing that kind of went in detail into the process. I won't get into that, but we've determined that going forward, we don't need to put porta-john waste specifically into the lagoon. It needs to go through the plant treatment process. So we'll introduce it another way. So we've been working with our main porta-john supplier to the plant in trying to go through a permitting process where we determine exactly how much porta-john waste can be brought to the plant and how much we can take. And so we're going through that process now. The company, the main provider, has been cooperative to this stage, so we're both sides are working toward an amicable solution there. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from Mr. Ward?
Well, I guess the prevailing question for me would be, so at least at this point, you feel like there is a solution that we can get to where we can, in the future, work with our providers?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're, like I said, we're working toward that. One of the providers is here today. I see Mr. Tart here, so he's been cooperative. We've been working together. It's still early in that process, but we're working together to try to come to a solution about how much porta-john waste we can accept in the plant and looking at different ways to make that more acceptable in the plant.
Well, I know I'm glad to hear that, and you guys are the ones stuck with trying to work out the solution for this, but with a porta-john being put in front of every new house that's being built,
Sure.
I'm assuming right now the affordable toilets and the other ones out of Fayetteville are going back to Rockfish or wherever. Sooner or later, they're gonna wanna come see you, for the ones in Harnett County. So I'm hoping you guys will be able to figure that out eventually.
Sure. I mean, I think the more avenues that the waste can be disposed of, the better for everybody. So we're trying to work toward that solution now.
Good enough. All I need.
As long as they're working on it, I'm fine.
Thank both of you for your time.
Thank you.
Very much. We will now move on to an approval of hangar leases at 579 and 665 Airport Road. Mr. Appel.
Yes, Commissioners, happy to come back and report that I've got two more hangars under agreement. These are with Earl Jones Jr. and Diane B. Jones. They own two hangars at our jetport, one at 559 Airport Road and one at 665 Airport Road. The 559 is the one that is next to the hangar that we own. The second one in line, if you're looking from the airport side, on the right side, this would be the second hangar. The 665 is the larger hangar as you look on the left side, and we always classify it as what we call the SBI hangar. But we've been in negotiations with the Jones. We finally came to an agreement. So on 559, the term is for an initial period of 10 years, beginning the date of beginning, that'd be February 1st, 2023, and then with one 5-year renewal. So a total of 15 years for that hangar. The rent is $1,669 per year, plus 5 years of back pay because there's been a lapse on payment for rent on that property. So, and we have received those checks already for this year and for the previous 5 years. Then there's going to be a rent escalation at the end of the initial 3-year period and then every 2 years thereafter. Other just key points of the lease is can't assign the lease without our written consent. Right of first refusal if lessee receives a bona fide offer to purchase the leasehold improvements. We can, as the operators of the jetport, can relocate the lease premises if needed for planned improvements to the jetport, which has always been a key in negotiating these new leases as we continue to grow. Although no plans to move it, just want to have that in there. And then, most importantly, it complies with all FAA regulations and makes the lease subordinate to those rules since we're airport sponsor and we receive FAA dollars. So that's the lease at 559, the general lease for 559 Airport Road. The other one at 665, again, what we call the SBI hangar. The term is an initial 15 years beginning February 1st, 2023 with 4 5-year renewals. So that's the total of 35 years. They're getting a longer period for this hangar. One, it's a little bit newer, and two, it's the largest hangar we have out there and the most expensive one that we have out at the airport. So that warrants a longer lease term for that type of hangar. Rent is $1,400. I understand that is lower than his other smaller hangar. However, that's what he's been paying on that hangar for the previous year. So we're going to keep that the same for this year. Then on 2/1/24 next year, rent will be based upon a fair market rental determined by present rent plus the average annual increase in CPI from December 2009 to the most recent month's CPI of next year. So it will go up, but just part of the negotiations, we are leaving the rent the same this year. So, and then again, all the other things I mentioned on the 559 regarding relocation, FAA regulations, all that, that's all in there as well. So the leases are pretty much the same, just the key differences is the term and the rent. Happy to answer any questions, but I will say very happy with the result of this negotiations that we were able to get 2 more leases under our new lease that we want to use for all of our hangars out there.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Appel?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve these leases as submitted.
I have a motion and a second to approve these hangar leases as submitted. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries unanimously, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one additional question I'd like to ask Mr. Appel, if it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Where does that leave us with regard to hangars that are not meeting the FFA expectations or procedures? Is everybody at that point, or do we still have some that are out of compliance?
We're down to 1.
Down to 1.
Now, there's another one that it was under lease. We're just renewing one on that's a T hangars, a smaller T hangar bay. That's not going to be an issue because that's just renegotiating a new one. That was not a problematic one. But we're down to just 1 hangar lease that we need to negotiate or take care of in other ways.
Thank you so much for your hard work with this.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a need for closed session, sir.
Mr. Chairman, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 143-318.11A3. I move that the board go into closed session for the following purpose: consultation with the county's legal staff in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of certain litigation, namely the workers' compensation claim of Jessica A. Sauer, IC file number 1104241.
A motion for closed session?
Move.
Have a
Second.
motion- Have a motion and second for closed session. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are now in closed session. Motion in closed session to adjourn and reconvene in open session. I will now consider board reopened. Do we have an
Mr. Chairman, I need to amend my motion to go into closed session to include item A6, dealing with personnel matters.
Second.
I have a motion and a second in order to amend the closed session motion to include personnel matters. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? At this time, I will now call the board to recess. We will reconvene downstairs in the training room 103 at 11 a.m. for a Board of Education budget meeting. We're in recess.
First time I've been up
The recess is now ended. I will now call the Monday, May 1st regular meeting of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners back to order.
We're live now. I'd like to call the Harnett County School Board joint meeting with the county commissioners to order this time. You want to do the invocation?
But you go ahead.
Mr. Doctor, you do the invocation, please, sir?
I certainly will.
Thank you, sir.
All standing, join me in prayer. Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege of being here this morning, dear Lord. We thank you for being able to meet together, dear Lord, to discuss the future of the children and parents and schools of Harnett County. We pray that we would be receptive, dear Lord, to one another's ideas, Lord, that love would go around, Father. And Lord, forgive us of our sins, and thank you for keeping us safe like you do. Thank you for your Son, Jesus, the greatest gift that's ever been. Lord, we ask these things all in his name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Marsh, you lead us to the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On the school board side, I would entertain a motion about the agenda.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, chairman votes aye.
Howell votes aye.
Abate aye.
Katie, aye.
Dr. Al.
Hearing none, nay votes, motion carries. Dr. Clinton, presentation of the 2023 budget request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of both the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners. It is an honor to come in front of you today, and as I have in the past, to discuss our budget request for the upcoming school year. In front of you, you have several documents that Ms. Tammy Johnson has put in front of you. One is the one with a rough-looking cover, and not because Ms. Farrell put it together, because she does good work, but because I'm and so that's this package right here that's stapled. You have because our budget request is a little small on the letter size, you also have a legal size, so we want to make sure you see that. And that is also stapled with your packet. And then I think you have 3 pictures dealing with some school security issues that we'll talk about. And I just wanted you to get a visual of the 2 systems we'll be discussing. To start in the packet, beyond the cover is kind of some typical boilerplate types of information. Our board members, our mission and vision. We do have links to all of our financial documents on there. We do have the budget message from the chairman and I to you. You've got our local request, and then that is followed up by school facility needs. I will, and that will give you some reading pleasure at your convenience. I do want to start after that, start discussing our budget request that's on this legal size paper that is stapled. My format for today will be very similar as in the past. We'll go through this, answer any questions. We'll really cover a lot of the current expense and just some of the smaller capital stuff. And then once we're done with this, we'll get into the building, what I call big ticket items. The first number you see on our spreadsheet here for our funding request is the amount that Harnett County gave to public schools in the current year that we're in, 22-23, and that's the $26.1 million. And that represents the local appropriation of current expense that you, the commissioners, are currently funding Harnett County schools locally. Below that are our current expense expansion request. I know probably you know that, but for those listening, those in the audience, I always look at current expense as things that are not typically tied to the wall or that are capitalized over multiple years. These are items you typically would use in a year or two. They are obviously salaries and all. And so I'll go over these. The first item, $850,000. is to fund our decompressed salary schedule. This is the second phase of that schedule. As you know, we started it some time ago. Last year, the year we're in actually, we funded it, but would need assistance to continue to pay this decompressed scale at a cost of $850,000. And again, classified being non-certified individuals. So we're not talking about teachers or school administrators, anything along those lines. We're talking about classified employees such as teacher assistants, custodial, maintenance, cafeteria workers in our child nutrition program, teacher assistants, clerical staff, and so on. The second number is to increase the base allotment to cover charter school reductions, $724,000. As you know, money follows the child when they enroll in a charter school. The state goes ahead and forwards that money to the charter school, but it's our responsibility to cover the students out of our base allotment for those that go to a school choice option to a charter school. And so we do have an increase in that every year. And this is nearly $724,000, almost $725,000. The next line item, and I have that broken down below, is a certified supplement increase and classified staff salary increase. This is projected off a potential 10% state employee raise. Again, for state paid employees, that is paid for by the state. But if you are locally paid, we have to cover that expense ourselves. And so we estimated that, we did not estimate that at 10%, 5%. 5%. So starting with the first italic line underneath the 1.4 million would be an increase to the teacher supplement. We do have a goal to get to 10% or above, and this would increase that by 1%, 974,000. I remember sharing last year, someone had asked, where's Wake County and what it would cost to get us to Wake County. Wake County now is above 20% supplement. Actually, they're closer, I think 22, 23%. And so I shared last year, and it really runs true today. For every 1% we want to increase, it's almost $1 million. So we're asking to increase now by 1% would get us to 10 to 11%. That's $974,000. So if you wanted to go up 10%, we'll say, if you wanted to get closer to Wake County, that's $10 million ask. And so just keep that in mind. Every 1% in Harnett County is just shy of $1 million. The next line under that is school-based administrator local supplement. We have not increased the local supplement for our school administrators since I've been in Harnett County. We've increased teacher supplement. We've increased the salary of classified staff. But we have not done anything to our school administrator supplement. And that's school-based administrator supplement principals. In this case, and assistant principals. And so we're asking for $93,555 to increase the local supplement by approximately $1,000 for each principal and assistant principal. And that does include our employer-based costs like retirement in there as well. And then the third line, increase employer-paid benefits, $325,489. And this provides funds for an increase in the state salary increase, retirement, and health insurance costs for locally paid employees. Every year the state raises the retirement rate, it seems, increases the health insurance cost, and so this would help us and cover those increases that I kind of consider it somewhat of an unfunded mandate in the sense that the state raises those, and like everything, cost goes up, insurance, retirement rates, but this would help us in being able to sustain that for local employees because we have to pay them. Underneath that, a request that I believe came from originated from the sheriff, a school resource officer bonus, and it's a $5,000 retention bonus for school resource officers, and that includes their benefits as well. And that would be paid out probably either at the beginning or the end of the year, those employees would have to sign that they were going to continue to work as an SRO, continue to work for the sheriff. And then under that, another request, additional school resource officers, $144,000, and that would provide the salary and benefits for SROs at the new Northwest Harnett Elementary School that we will open this fall, as well as an SRO for the new early college at Ben Haven campus. When you add all of that up, we're just shy of $3.3 million requested in new funds in our current expense fund. And I'm happy to answer any questions before we move on to capital.
Well, Dr. Fleming, I just want to say on the bonus, the reason we put that in there is we're trying to make sure that we get, there's no nice way of saying it, but the better officers as SROs. And the way we do that is you got to entice the money to make it worth them wanting to apply. And that, in talking to the sheriff and having a conversation, we came up with that number that if you sign up to be a SRO, it's irrelevant what your salary is, this bonus would apply to you. And the reason we were wanting to do that is we want to get the good officers, I'm not saying bad officers are out, I'm just saying we want the best that want to be SROs. And it takes special people to be able to go into schools and do like they're supposed to do and engage the kids and everything. So that was why we came up with that number. And as Dr. Fleming said, I would think you would, if you only paid half of it up front or pay it all at like June when school or the May check or whatever, so that they have served that whole year as a SRO. And that was why we were asking for that.
All right, if there's no questions on current expense, we will move into capital. By state statute, capital is broken into 3 different areas. One is facilities, one covers equipment, and another covers vehicles. And so on the facilities, which actually, I believe we actually will move this to equipment, but I put it under there because of school safety. Weapon detection system, as you know, there's really been an increase, obviously, of weapons on campuses. That's not just been everywhere, but also here in Harnett County as well. And so a lot of school districts are this year going to ask their county commissioners, if it's North Carolina, some other places out of state, but to have a conversation about weapon detection systems, which is different than metal detectors. A weapon detection system, and you have some pictures here that I'll have to go through with you, is a non-stop rolling walk-through system. Unlike a metal detector, if I walk through a metal detector and I have my keys or my phone, it's going to pick it up. These systems have an algorithm specifically designed to look for weapons only. And when we say weapons, we're talking mass casualty type weapons. These pictures that you have here are ones I've taken, and I'll explain in a moment where each of these are and what each of these systems, how they are different. But if you can picture looking at any of these, you simply walk through. They're very similar to the Sensormatic pedestals that are at the front door of a grocery store or a Best Buy or wherever. So when you walk out, if you have something that picks it up, these are very similar to that. The first picture I want to draw your attention to before we get into cost. Like everything, there's a good, better, best. This is probably a better or best scenario. But the first picture here, going into this medical office, you'll see this is an open gate system. The open gate system is 2 round pedestals that come up out of the ground. You walk through there. It doesn't tell you necessarily where the weapon is, but if you see the 2 green lights at the top, they turn red if it detects a weapon. You'll notice a table over here to the right where you can search if it does detect a weapon. And then you move on. This is probably the more economical model, the one I'm showing you. This is called an open gate system. here. The second one, I've got two pictures. There's a single lane and a double lane, and this is the evolve system. The evolve system does have a little more technology involved for the simple fact that it has, if you look at this one here from the trade show, you will see a pedestal at the bottom right, and then if you look over here to the left, there's another tablet pedestal behind it. It's a 1 to 2 person operation, and on that tablet it will show you where the weapon is. So if I walk through there with a pistol in my pocket, it will alert, these blue lines will turn red, and you will see a circle or a box around where that pistol is. If it's in a backpack, if it's in my pocket, if it's somewhere else on my person, it will pick that up. Again, more technology is put into this, a little more of a rugged system. Obviously, it's more expensive. So we've had a conversation as a board. We've had a conversation with our new school safety director on which would be the best option to go. Our board did get a demo of both the Open Gate and Evolve. You will see Evolve is a little more used. I actually took that picture too from Epcot. So I guess they protect the mouse with Evolve as well. If we go with an Open Gate, we would go with 3 per each high school, 2 per middle school, 2 per elementary school, and then 1 for Star Academy, 1 for each of the 2 early college campuses and our central services office. So what does, again, that cover? Or what's the rationale? Because we know we have car riders, bus riders, and drivers, we looked at doing 3 per school in the addition to an Evolve. One of those also would be used for athletics. They are very mobile. They have wheels. You can put them in the back of a truck, so on and so forth. For middle school, we would have 1 for the main entrance, typically where your car riders come in, 1 in the back entrance where your bus riders come in. Same thing for the elementary school. And then 1 for our smaller campuses, again, Star, early college, so on. If we were to go with kind of that minimum setup there, we're looking at $1.189 million to own this Open Gate system in the quantities listed. Right here, this one. In having conversations with other counties and having conversations with some of our security folks, we realize we're going to want to keep one probably operating constantly through the day. That's the purpose of it. It's not only for students in weapon detection, but also outside visitors that come into our school, come into our office, check students out, whatever it may be. And so we talked about having the more rigid Evolve system, Evolve system, at the front of the school, and doing 1 dual lane per comprehensive high school, this one right here, that we could possibly use in the mornings, but also we would be able to use during the day, maybe just 1 lane as people entered the school. And the cost to do 1 per comprehensive high school, which is a total of 4, that's $601,000. So you can see the price difference is pretty significant between the 2 systems. Again, the main difference, I think, is the technology behind it. With the Evolve system, the more expensive system, you are able to identify the location of the weapon. It can be in mornings, we'll say, or even during the day, an SRO or an assistant principal can keep constant lookout on the tablet. The tablet can be moved wherever. We would also add a system on there, or excuse me, not a system, but a little add-on on there for a table. Students can slide down. In most cases, they can wear backpacks fine. There are a few things that both vendors have told us. Chromebooks, Apple products, some Apple MacBooks like I have. Sometimes you set it off because of the amount of metal or the material it's made out of. But for the most part, and I've tried it myself, you can go through with backpacks no problem. But there may be times we would have to say, okay, take your Chromebook out, slide it down, and then go through. That's the evolve, well, both systems, but the evolve again will identify the location. The open gate does not identify location, only identifies when something is found, similar to a metal detector. I'll stop there before I continue on down the list. I do want to answer any questions. I will say kind of seeing is believing better than pictures. But happy to answer any questions anyone has about weapon detection.
Dr. Fleming, are you doing, when you talk about doing one for the high schools and then doing the other ones for?
That's what it is, yeah.
Is that the pricing you have?
Yes, yep. All right. We'll keep on. Some of the easier items below the weapon detection. We are requesting a fire alarm system upgrade for Dunn Middle and Harnett Central Middle at $150,000. I believe that's an item that before we started working on the capital improvement plan, putting our items in there, that's one I think that was before we started that process with Mr. Steve Matthews. That really needs replacing, that's not in the CIP. Below that, the flashing school zone lights, we're still requesting those for Western, Johnsonville, and Overhills. I remember saying this before, a lot of people would say, well, doesn't DOT pay for that? Until I got in this job, I thought they did, but they do not. It is the responsibility of the owner. DOT will help you program them if needed, but the school zone lights, the signs, a good example of a new one we have at Lafayette Elementary. The new ones actually have the speed on it that the person is traveling. And that concludes the facilities piece. We'll skip over the new and renovated school facilities right now. We'll do that at the end because obviously we may have some discussion there. The only other facility request we have, which would require the approval of the commissioners because it's your property, and that's the Anderson Creek Primary School. We have a gravel lot there that was once where I believe the cafeteria and gym stood. That was demolished because of the growth at Anderson Creek and the parking required there. We're having to park in the lawn and beside the road and everywhere else. We have had some parking up there on the lot, but I think it would be more organized parking if we could pave it and stripe it, but at least pave it. And so that is a request that we are putting in, not just on the funding side, but also the permission to pave it. And I know it's used significantly with Parks and Rec as well. So that concludes our facility request piece, minus the actual facilities that we'll get to in a moment. The Category 2, Category 3 items, very similar years past, typically for our auxiliary service department. You see commercial mowers, generator, and you see some replacement trucks. The one high item in there is we are now required to have a walk-in freezer for our child nutrition department. The state requires that. If we don't have our own, we have to rent it, or lease it, and that's what we've been doing. We've been leasing space in Johnston County as well as in Lee County to keep our freezer items, our perishable items for our cafeterias, and then we distribute them from that location to our schools. The issue is the Johnston County space is no longer available. So thankfully, the vendor in Sanford has allowed us some extra space to keep our items. But we believe at some point that will go away. And so we want to be proactive and go ahead, like most counties, and get our own freezer, pallet freezer, to put our food in. And it would also save us on fuel because we would be able to distribute to our schools, obviously, from inside the county. The location we think this would be best at is at our maintenance warehouse, just over on Main Street at the 210 and 401 junction. But this is something, one way or another, we just haven't figured out which way without the money, but that we will have to do because the reason why is, too, these freezer companies, these cold storage companies can make much more off private industry than they can a school district. And so they don't renew the space to us, or someone in private industry wants to grow, and so they know they can generate more funds off of it. And so this is a request that we've got to be able to do that. Before we move into buildings, that really concludes the request in general. We'll do the buildings in a whole separate conversation. Before we go on, I do want to pause again if there are any questions. Very good. So if we'll go into this packet here, we've got the school facility needs list in our budget request packet. And I believe it's the last 2 or 3 pages in here. It has the Harnett County Schools logo at the top in red, and you see red lines. I will start at the top, and I do want to introduce there he is, Tom Hughes is over here by the window, our architect, who does an excellent job in building schools. And I can't wait for commissioners, the board's taking a look, but I can't wait for our commissioners at some point to take a look at the new Northwest Harnett Elementary School. It's an impressive facility. And it is a $42.7 million facility too. So the first section on the school facility needs list, you don't have to worry with, you've already helped us pay for it. And those are our current projects. We have about $77.8 million in current projects going on right now. A considerable amount, most of them are from local county funds. And some are also from our COVID relief dollars. So we've got Northwest Harnett Elementary School that will be completed for kids to enter in this fall. Johnsonville Elementary School, Phase 1 you don't see on here because it should be finished by time, but we've had some issues there. Johnsonville Elementary School Phase 2, those are new classrooms as well, and some infrastructure improved there with movement of vehicles and all. So that was hopefully going to be done by this fall, but I think it's going to be a little later with some issues we've had there. But Overhills Elementary School, Highland Elementary School, Dunn Elementary School, those classroom additions are well underway and are being funded with ESSER funds. Our Central Services Board of Education renovation is also being paid with ESSER funds with a combination of $1 million of local dollars. That is taking place in the old Harnett County Library. And then we also have the press box for Harnett Central High School and Western Harnett High School. Again, those are a combination of legislative funds and local funds. And so we've got a lot going on right now. A lot of growth, and we're growth not just in people, but growth as in facilities as well. So let's get into our, well, let me pause again. Any questions on current projects going on?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How far are you along with the Johnsonville renovation out there?
So phase 1, and I may have to have Mr. Matthews or Mr. Hughes give an update on that. We've had some issues with the general contractor there. Phase 1 is very close. We have to have some things finished up, some punch list items, some glass replaced that was broken. Again, hopefully we'll have that done by time the school year ends. Phase 2 is slightly behind, but moving much faster. My goal, I think, Tom, would be to have phase 2 completed by Christmas or after?
Yeah, we're looking at December.
Yes.
Good thing with phase 2.
And the work, let's say it again, Tom.
Good thing about phase 2
Yep.
is all students are already on campus.
Right.
So the day we open, it's just simply a move over.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me that you are moving along with this now because it's been standing still for a long time?
We have had issues.
And it's been a handicap for both the teachers out there as
It
well
is.
as the students.
It is.
Because I have had some complaints about it.
Uh-huh.
So,
They have been troopers. I will tell you that if there's any good thing to come out of it, and you can already see it, how much better that school looks right now with the new driveways out front. They've got, of course, the new sign. Tom and even the contractor at that point did a really good job to get that part done. We've run into issues, and I'm very concerned with the performance of those contractors. Unfortunately, we don't get to choose our contractors. It's a low bid, high bid situation, but my goal at this point is to have that cafeteria hopefully finished in the summer and then have the phase 2 done by Christmas. And what that will do, every kid in that building will really be almost, I mean, I think it's safe to say this, every kid will be in a renovated classroom. Even in the old building, brand new windows. It's a totally different campus.
I'm glad to hear this because it's been a long time.
It has been. I agree with you. I agree, Mr. McCoy. It has been. And I think I'm disappointed in that. I know Mr. Hughes is, because he has been the one putting the pressure on the general contractor out there. And I will say, and a lot of it, of course, is legal type conversations, but we do have some upcoming meetings on how to fix some of these issues. And because I'll tell you, at the end of the day, just like you mentioned, it's the students at Johnsonville, it's the staff at Johnsonville, Harnett County in general has really are really the ones that should be frustrated in the way the project is. I agree. We will move on to Tier 1 projects. Tier 1 projects, again, we've kind of always arbitrarily set these timelines, but what we call immediate to 1 year, as I like to tell folks, things we probably needed 5 years ago. But in our Tier 1 request, we have on there a new school transportation facility on property currently owned by the town of Lillington as a part of our land swap. We are, 12, 13, 14 bays short right now on the number of bays we need to service buses. We have to service buses outdoors. And again, we do have minimum standards to meet with DPI, and we're able to do that. But if the weather's bad, sometimes they can't work on buses. Sometimes buses are delayed to get into service because of the number of bays we have. So we do need to get our transportation folks a new facility. The next item on there is a new custodial and storage facility. We're currently leasing a building, I believe, that may be owned between the county and town of Lillington. And it's a nice facility, and we can stay there as long as you let us. But if you kick us out, we need somewhere to go. And so we've left that on the list. I do think that probably could go off the list if there was a way to work out some type of a long-term lease or transfer of the property or something along those lines. Flatwoods Middle School, that's probably our number 1 priority. I was going to tell too, these are on priority of when they've been on the list, not so much priority of need, because I would say that the Flatwoods Middle School, and I think the board even brought this up, Flatwoods Middle School, number 1 priority on the list, $75 million. It is unbelievable to see how prices of schools are going up, but hold your breath because I haven't talked about the high school yet. But a new middle school, $75 million. We do already own the land on 401, and this would not include you if we were to somehow receive a 40, which is now 50. Actually, the legislature just changed it. A $50 million grant. You could see where you could take that off the price tag there, and you'd be looking at about a $25 to $30 million out-of-pocket cost instead of 75. So there is some good news there. Highland High School is the next on the list. The school board did identify Highland as the site of the next high school. It'll be a 2,000 seat school. We of course already have the Highland land. This would also not include the Highland School Road extension, Tingen Road. That would have to be something either considered locally or funded by DOT. So this price obviously does not include that, but currently the estimate is $95 million. In Wake County, they're now building a $110 million high school. Every year I come to you, that number goes up about 10 million. And it's amazing. Yeah. At least we haven't gotten into building parking decks. We haven't, I think we have wide open space currently. That does help us. The next item, the Harnett County Early College at Dunn relocation and renovation. We're asking for $100,000 there. We do plan on moving the early college from what I believe to be a very beautiful facility, very historic facility, but unfortunately it was not renovated to withstand high school kids. We've had a lot of structural issues there. And this would relocate those students to the old Wayne Avenue building. So we combined Wayne Avenue into Dunn Elementary, Wayne Avenue and Harnett Primary into Dunn Elementary. And our early college students would relocate to the Wayne Avenue building, and there is about $100,000 in renovations that need to be done. Obviously, some plumbing facilities, but also just some general ceilings and painting and some other items to get those students moved. And we would try to do as much of that in-house to reduce that cost as well. After that, as you know, Lillington Shawtown Elementary School, I believe I've mentioned this before, is our only school without a gym. Only elementary school without a gym. And we are asking $8 million, which we originally planned with ESSER funds and simply ran out because of the price increase on the other projects with the cost and supply chain issues. But we are asking $8 million in Tier 1 to add a gym to Lillington Shawtown Elementary School. And I picture that very similar to the gym you see at Coates or at Highland Elementary. And then we are asking for $1 million for a gym renovation for Lafayette Elementary School, probably to a central air in it. I picture this to be a gym very similar to what you see at Anger. It's kind of a retro mod. Still looks old, but has all the modern day amenities. Central air, nice new windows, energy efficient. And finally on the list, Flatwoods Elementary School. It would be on the Flatwoods Middle School site, down Highway 401. $43 million for that elementary school. I suspect, because this does not include inflation, it could be higher than that if it was today. That concludes Tier 1 projects that cost us about $236 million. It seems, I think about early in my career here in Harnett County, 6 years ago, when we had a $200 to $250 million need for buildings, and we thought if we could catch up to that $250 million need, we wouldn't have to worry about it for a while. Well, we haven't gotten all $250 million, but I will tell you this, we're at $236 million, so we're still close to the 250.
I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
The last item, or next to the last item, Tier 1 project?
Yes.
Lafayette Elementary School gym renovation?
Yes.
If you look at Tier 2 projects, the first item, Lafayette
Oh,
Elementary School gym
you're right.
renovation.
Trying to double our money.
That's right. We're trying to get from
gotta watch you guys.
It doesn't matter how many times I look at this, we skip something. I have marked that off on Tier 2. That's embarrassing. I hate when I find it, especially when I don't find it.
So we were supposed to get our ORAD report in June,
That's right.
and that gives us all the predict, numbers and everything. But y'all are out and about. You know how much growth is in the county. We'll know more in June. But
Yep. For Tier 2, again, you can mark Lafayette off on that. Like I said, I apologize. I'm glad. Like I said, it's not bad that we did it. It's bad that I didn't catch it. That's the bad thing.
good try.
That's right. We tried to squeeze an extra million out here. For Tier 2, Star Academy renovations or replacement, we put $100,000 on there. I think that's more of a placeholder than anything, and I'll explain why. I do know that the current facility Star is in is not getting any younger. It is honestly a rough building that does decline every year. We have not put a lot into it. That's part of it. We have it's a cool or warm depending on the season and learning environment. So it's conditioned. Items are renovated as needed or fixed as needed, but it needs a full renovation. We put $100,000 on here because I don't know that Star will always be able to be on that campus or in the current buildings they're in. When we relocate to, my staff relocates and the board relocates to the library, that's going to open up office space in our current building where we will move our curriculum and instruction leadership, which will eliminate, and our technology department's moving to Gentry to our new development center, but that flat building behind, it's an old classroom building behind Star, is where we plan on moving a lot of Star students. So that building may need renovations. Or if we start building newer schools and having to use older school facilities for Star, we would need to renovate those buildings. And so I say all of that is we do have to have a discussion at some point of what the future of our alternative school is and how much space will be needed. I will tell you this, I know Mr. White will as well. Our enrollment at the alternative school is up right now. It's not to the point that we're out of capacity. But if we look through growth and a percentage of students that do require an alternative placement, we know it will grow. And so I think we're okay where we're at now, but we do either need to renovate some of where we're at, or we need to look at a new facility, whatever that looks like. And that's a conversation our board will have to have over the next year, because I do know Lillington has shown some interest in those two older school facilities that they would like to possibly renovate at some point. And if they get that, then we would have to, again, discuss where we would put our alternative program. But as of now, we do see where we're going to need funds to do one thing or another, either relocate or renovate another facility, or renovate the facility behind Star now. The next item on there is a replacement school for Buies Creek Elementary. We do know, I can publicly say this, we know that Campbell University certainly has interest in our current Buies Creek Elementary School, either to build a new facility or renovate that facility, because it's in Buies Creek. Where the challenge comes into is how do we build a new Buies Creek and still be in Buies Creek? But we do know through some new developments and all that are being put on there, they're being put up, that some developers have possibly allocated some land for us. So I don't know that finding the land will be as much a challenge as finding the funding to build a new school. But we do know with the growth in Lillington, plus the age of the building in Buies Creek, maybe something in between, or something on what I'll say the northern side or western side of Buies Creek would be an appropriate location for a school. So we're putting that one on your radar. We're asking for a gym addition, auxiliary gym addition for Triton High School. Triton is our only high school without an auxiliary gym. The other three do have auxiliary gyms. And then a conversation that I know I've had individually with folks, and it seems to be an interest as our community college continues to grow, as our early college continues to grow, to do some type of a combined early college career tech center in the central part of the county, which in my mind would be Lillington. All of this would be pending land, pending the partnership with the community college, which I'm sure and I know they're completely on board with. We're looking at about $30 million for that facility. That's based off an estimate, I believe, that Mr. Hughes has given based on his previous work and some other projects that his firm are currently working on. And then the final item on there is for our three oldest high schools, renovations there. Not sure exactly what that would look like yet, but I did want to put that in there as a tier 2 project. We're talking 2-3 years out. Any questions on these? After that, you get into tier 3 and tier 4, a little further away. 4 years to 7 years on a tier 3 and beyond 7 years for a tier 4. Tier 3, a new elementary school in the NC 87 corridor, Spout Springs area, headed towards the Cumberland County line. As we know, there's huge developments out there, and we're currently busing them to Ben Haven, but we do have huts at Ben Haven now because of that. So we know it's time for another elementary school there. Another elementary school in the northern or northwest part of Harnett County. We do have some middle school land secured. I'm not sure that it would handle an elementary school too that's quite big enough, but we would have to start looking for land for that if not. And then we put North Harnett primary renovations because I think North Harnett now, along with Bowie's Creek, are in South Harnett as well, are really the oldest schools minus where Star is. And then in your tier 4 projects, beyond 7 years, way down the road, it'll be here before we know it, a Western Harnett area middle school, a Northwest Harnett area middle school, which we currently have the land for, and then any other school renovations that will pop up at that point. And we know, depending on how long we keep some schools, we will have that. So to both boards, I appreciate the opportunity to go over this. I'm happy to answer any questions either board has. But this is our 2023-2024 local appropriations request. And again, happy to answer any clarifying questions you have. And I think if there's no questions, we get it all. Isn't that how it works, Mr. Trapp? Okay. And I do. That's right. And I do want to say, as I look over at Mr. Trapp, I appreciate the relationship I've been able to have with him. We have lunch every couple of months, and I do appreciate the fact that he's been willing to sit down. I can go through all of this and really explain much deeper than even I did in here, where some of our needs are coming from. So thank you for that.
And I can tell you from having my opportunity to go and be involved in Leadership Harnett, being able to go through some of the schools here in Harnett County, it has been a real good experience because it gave me an opportunity to see firsthand where we're at with some of those schools and some of the needs and so forth. You know, the one question that I had as I look at this, and we have a couple of major projects that are in tier 1. And my question is, when we look at that, I believe the schedule was still to continue to first do the middle school at Flatwoods and then the high school. What is the expectation as you obviously have capacity both at the architectural level and the construction level? What is the timeline between each of those two major projects?
I think there's an immediate need for both, but I will tell you this: when you look at our current comprehensive high schools, which all have huts or mobile classrooms outside of them, and we'll never stop that, right? I mean, that's going to be an issue going on forever, probably. But the middle school by far, immediate. The high school, if there was a way that once that elementary school was complete, if there's a way at that point, if we hadn't already selected everything and had everything out to bid so that we could close the project of one school and enter the project of another. So you're looking at a 2-year build, I believe, Tom, would it be 2 years to complete?
Yeah, with the industry the way it is today, 2 years is a minimum.
Right. So you wouldn't be looking at starting construction for over 2 years from when the middle school started. And then you still got bidding and all that at that point. So you probably have another 6 months built in there even. So if there was a way to start that middle school, you know, high school upon opening of the middle school, or, you know, within 6 months or so of opening of the middle school.
When will you hear related to the middle school and the grant?
The grant is due in September.
Grant is due
August
23rd, I believe. They'll take a month to evaluate an award. So you will know end of September, early October on the award.
And that would be a huge win if we could get there. Huge win.
I think, Aaron, in general, a rule of thumb, that the day that you decide that you want to build a high school, you have time allocation for funding and LGC and all of that. You go through 6, 8, 10 months of design and then bid an award, construction over 2 years. So you're looking somewhere in the neighborhood. The day you decide to go, you're 4 months out or 4 years out to the day you open the school.
We didn't start last year.
That's right.
Yeah. 4 years ago.
Yeah. And we will share the ORAD numbers with y'all as soon as we get them in. We'll get them on so you can actually see.
already scheduled to present to the board in June, and so I can get those to you as soon as we get them. Well, I do appreciate the opportunity. I'm always, feel free to email, call me with any questions you have. Always happy to answer any questions.
Have you scheduled a time for it to go to?
Not yet, we will, with the commissioners in Northwest Harnett. We're trying to get it a little more. We were giving you a rougher look at it, but it's getting there. We do still have what I keep saying, supply chain issues. I know with some panels and switches and all, but switch gear. Yeah, that's our biggest thing. And I think Harnett Regional Water is doing really well in getting our water, getting our sewer run to the schools.
Water's there, power's there, and construction has begun on the lift station.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, unless there's any other business.
Got any further business?
Well, I just want to go ahead and put out, sorry to the staff and the two boards here, we actually have lunch over here. We got some minnow cheese, ham and cheese, and chicken salad sandwiches. So make sure you grab yourself some lunch. Sorry that we didn't grab that before we started.
I will, Mr. Morris is ready.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, Chairman votes aye.
Howard votes aye.
Fontaine, aye.
Crawford, aye. All right, we are.
I'll entertain a motion from the Board of Commissioners to adjourn. Motion and second to adjourn. We are adjourned.